Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 612, Locked in, Intermediate. Leo pulled the last mop across the tiled floor of the food court, a long, weary sigh escaping his lips. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and the massive shopping center was completely silent, a quiet giant of glass and steel. He worked the night shift as a cleaner, a job he usually didn't mind because of the solitude. The only sounds were the hum of the ventilation and the distant rumble of the city outside. He put his equipment away and headed for the staff exit on the lower ground floor. He slid his key card into the reader, but the green light didn't flash. He tried again. Nothing. He checked the card, ran his thumb over the chip, and tried a third time. Still nothing. The red light just blinked stubbornly. A feeling of unease settled in his stomach. Maybe the card was broken? He decided to try the main doors on the ground floor. He took the escalator up, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He tried the large glass doors at the main entrance, pulling on the handles. Locked. A cold dread began to creep up his spine. All the doors were locked, and his phone had no signal inside the building. He was trapped. That's when he heard it. A faint, dragging noise, like something being pulled across the floor, coming from the floor above. He froze, listening. The sound stopped. Maybe it was just his imagination. He told himself it was probably one of the security guards on their round. He decided to find another way out and hurried towards the service lifts. Then the sound returned, louder this time. It was closer. He looked up and saw a shadow moving quickly behind a display on the second floor. It was too fast, too fluid, to be a person. Panic set in. He ran down an aisle between clothing racks and ducked into a small changing room, pulling the heavy curtain closed. He held his breath, listening. The dragging noise grew louder, and he could hear a rhythmic clicking sound now, too. He pressed his back against the wall, trying to make himself as small as possible. The clicking and dragging sounds moved past the changing room and faded away. After a few minutes, he slowly peeked out. The aisle was empty. But then, he saw it. Perched on a high-up security camera stand was a small, angular machine. It was about the size of a dog, with a cluster of red lights blinking on a round head. It had 3 legs, but one was twisted at a strange angle, scraping on the floor as it moved. It wasn't an animal, but a robot. An automated security drone. He realized why the doors were locked and why his phone had no signal. He wasn't trapped by accident. He was a part of a new security test. The drone was hunting him. He needed to find a way out, and fast. He spotted a set of emergency stairs. He knew they led to the basement car park. He began to run as fast as he could, the robot's clicking and dragging sounds returning and growing louder behind him. He didn't look back. He burst through a door and sprinted down the concrete stairs, his legs burning. He found the basement door and pushed it open, stumbling into the vast, empty car park. He was safe. A single security guard stood next to a small desk, looking surprised to see him. "What are you doing down here?" the guard asked, looking at his watch. "The drill has just finished. You were supposed to be in the main office." Leo's chest was heaving. "Drill?" he asked, breathless. That thing was chasing me." The guard laughed softly. "Oh, you ran into the new Scouter model, did you? The company has just installed them. They're a bit clumsy, still working out the kinks in the system. Your supervisor is calling you. You were the first one to successfully evade it and make it to a safe zone. Congratulations, you passed the test." Leo simply nodded, too tired and shaken to speak. He walked out into the cool night air of the car park, feeling the breeze on his face. He had passed the test, but he wasn't sure he wanted to work another night shift. Vocabulary notes. Weary. Meaning, feeling or showing tiredness, especially as a result of a lot of work or effort. Example, a long, weary sigh escaping his lips. This shows that Leo is tired after finishing his cleaning work. Similar words, tired, exhausted, fatigued, drained. Unease. Meaning, a feeling of anxiety or slight worry. Example, a feeling of unease settled in his stomach. This happens when Leo's keycard doesn't work, and he starts to feel that something is wrong. Similar words, anxiety, worry, apprehension, discomfort. Dread. Meaning, a strong feeling of fear or deep worry about something that is going to happen or might happen. Example, a cold dread began to creep up his spine. This is a stronger feeling than unease and shows how scared Leo becomes when he realizes all the doors are locked. Similar words, terror, fear, horror, panic. Rhythmic. Meaning, happening with a regular pattern of sounds, movements, or events. Example, he could hear a rhythmic clicking sound now, too. This describes the repeating, regular sound the robot makes as it moves. Similar words, regular, steady, pulsing, recurring. Heaving. Meaning, the action of breathing heavily and with great effort, often after physical exertion. Example, Leo's chest was heaving. This shows that Leo has just finished running very fast, and his breathing is difficult and fast. Similar words, panting, gasping, puffing. Story written by Gemini Pro AI. Image created by Amagix AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, unicorn heads.
You know, great stories, especially the ones that get your heart pounding, they aren't just told, they're built. They are carefully engineered, piece by piece, to create that suspense that just glues you to the page. So how do they do it? Well, we're going to deconstruct a story and see how it works from the inside out.
It's a classic question, right? And for good reason. It taps right into that primal, spooky feeling of an unseen presence, and it immediately puts you on edge. It's really the perfect hook to pull us right into the world of our story.
So, our story kicks off with 3 simple facts. The time, 2 in the morning, when the entire world is asleep. The place, a totally silent, empty shopping center. And our guy, Leo, a night shift cleaner, all by himself. Or so he thinks.
Look, every thriller needs a baseline, a sense of what's normal before all the chaos hits. For Leo, normal is being alone. The quiet hum of the building, the echo of his own mop. This is his world. The story sets up this calm for one reason, just so it can be completely shattered.
So how do we get from that calm to total chaos? Well, most great stories actually follow a map, and this one's a classic, Freytag's Pyramid. Think of it like a 5-step blueprint for building tension. We're going to use it to track exactly how the suspense gets cranked up in Leo's story.
And here it is, the first little crack in Leo's ordinary night. He finishes his shift, he goes to leave, and his keycard doesn't work. A simple glitch, right? Maybe. But this is the inciting incident, that tiny little event that traps him inside and kicks everything else into motion. And boom, you can feel that immediate effect. Pay attention to the word choice here. It's not panic, not yet. It's unease. It's a subtle internal shift. All of a sudden, the problem isn't just a busted keycard, it's a feeling, a little seed of worry that's starting to take root. And this is where the author really starts turning up the heat. Leo tries the main doors, they're locked. He grabs his phone, no signal. And just like that, the initial unease deepens into dread. And that's a much more powerful and terrifying emotion. See, he's not just inconvenienced anymore. He's truly, well and truly, trapped. Okay, so now that internal fear gets an external source. First, there's a sound that just doesn't belong. That weird dragging noise from upstairs. Then, a visual, a shadow that moves too fast to be human. Leo's dread now has a target. He is definitely not alone.
And here we are at the very peak of that pyramid, the climax. After hiding and listening, Leo finally sees what's making that noise. And it is nothing like what he expected.
It's not a person. It's not an animal. It's a machine. But look at these details. That cluster of red lights is like a predator's eyes. And it's got one twisted, scraping leg, which gives it this unnatural, damaged, and totally relentless vibe. This is the moment that turns his fear into just pure panic.
And that panic just explodes into action. The climax isn't just one single moment, it's this frantic sequence. You can see how fast it all happens here, from hearing that first sound, to hiding, to that final, desperate sprint for the emergency stairs. It's a heart-pounding chase for survival.
So Leo bursts through the basement door, thinking he's safe, but he finds something else entirely, an explanation. This is what we call the falling action, where the tension finally breaks and the truth comes out.
He stumbles into the parking garage, his chest heaving, and a security guard just calmly says this to him. That one word, drill, it changes everything. He wasn't being hunted for his life. He was being tested.
And there it is, the big twist. The entire story just gets reframed in a split second. This wasn't a horror story. It was a high-stakes corporate security test. The drone was never a monster. It was a prototype. But for Leo, and for us, right, the fear was absolutely 100% real.
So we've seen the structure, right? The skeleton of the story. But what was the engine that was driving our emotions second by second? Well, the answer is in the words themselves. Let's take a look at the actual vocabulary of fear. Let's rewind all the way to the beginning. Before any of the trouble starts, Leo isn't scared. He's just weary.
It's a purely physical state, just exhaustion from a long night's work. That's our emotional starting point. Calm, relatable, and about to be broken.
Then the keycard fails, and we get that first emotional shift. Remember this word? Unease.
This is such a critical jump from a physical feeling, weary, to a psychological one. It's just a slight worry, sure, but it's the very first step up the ladder of fear.
And finally, when Leo realizes he's completely trapped, the feeling transforms again. Now dread starts to creep up his spine.
And that's the peak, no longer just a little worry, but a strong fear of what's about to happen. In just a few lines, the author masterfully walked us up the staircase of emotion, from weary to unease, all the way up to dread.
So when you put it all together, what have we really learned? What is the secret engine that powers a story like this one?
It really all comes down to this powerful combination. You start with a solid blueprint, like that pyramid, to guide the action. You slowly escalate the stakes, step by step. You use very specific words to steer the reader's emotions exactly where you want them to go. And then you can land a powerful twist that changes the meaning of everything that came before. It's not magic, it's a craft.
Understanding the blueprint doesn't ruin the magic at all. If anything, it reveals the artistry behind it. It shows how structure and language work together to create an experience you won't forget. So the only question left is, with these tools in your hand, what kind of story will you build?